But Hap's the one that got me back here. He told me I needed to come back and spend 1 year with Dad before I went off and practiced law, and that was 41 years ago. So I never changed. Another little thing over here. Anybody from Illinois? Okay, good. Normally I ask about Eastern Kentucky because I'm not real excited about that part of our state. But we actually had some Yankees in the family. And one of them was this guy who was Dad's mother's grandfather. And he was one of the small group that invented the Republican Party. Southern Illinois newspaper editors formed what was to become the Republican Party. And he was elected president of that little group in 1856. In 1859, they decided they wanted Mr. Lincoln to run as the favored son at the convention in 1860, which was in Chicago. And so great-great-granddaddy wrote a letter to his partial friend, Abe Lincoln, and this is it. This is the first time Lincoln was asked to run for the presidency. And the original, this is in the Library of Congress. This is Lincoln's response to that, and I've got that original. So this would be one of the really important Lincoln letters. And Lincoln said he wasn't qualified. Hardly what any of our candidates today would say. And this is him, and there's some other little things from the memento from the convention of 1860. This side of the wall, none of these people, let's see if I get this right. None of these people not only didn't make whiskey, I don't think any of them drank, which was their problem. This is the group right here that robbed the first bank in the country, right? And the first train. This is the James gang. And how that all got started, or how we got connected, this old guy right here is T.W. Samuels. Okay, he was my great-great-grand, first guy to make commercial whiskey in the family. Wasn't very good. And he had a brother named Reuben Samuels, and that's him over there. And he unfortunately married this widow from Georgetown, Kentucky, named Zerelda James, who was the mother of Frank and Jesse James. And that's Jesse's funeral, by the way. They end up having some other children. But if you remember the border wars between Kansas and Missouri right at the beginning of the war, they got ugly, and this school teacher came down from Ohio and gathered these kids up and said, we're going to fight the Redlegs. And his name was William Clark Quantrill, still considered the bloodiest man in American history. And they all signed up. And what they learned is they did not learn how to drink because he was a Quaker, but they learned how to shoot. And so they went off to battle. That's Cole Younger. And out of this group, Quantrill was eventually killed in Kentucky. Frank James, right here, took over Quantrill's guerrilla army and went to his new uncle, who was the sheriff of the county, and said, can you get us out of here alive? He goes to Louisville and gathers up Captain Young for what was to become the final surrender of the Civil War. It was the surrender of Quantrill's guerrilla army. And it was 3.5 months after Appomattox. And this little lady right here was there. And that's me. That was at the T.W. Samuels Distillery. She was there. Frank James handed over the ceremonial firearm to Captain Young, who gave it to that little girl, who gave it to me before she died. The next year they gathered up as the original James gang and came back to Kentucky and robbed a bank in Russellville, Kentucky. And 4 of the 8 of the original James gang were family. So that's, but they never drank. And I'm convinced to this day the reason they were so screwed up is they didn't have a toddy.
Visit bourbonblog.com for online video coverage, because the stories are more than just about bourbon. They're also about the spirit of the South. We only encourage responsible drinking by those who have legal age to drink in their countries or regions. So be safe and be legal.